The hate is real. The hate is real, Kathy. I see you hating on us from a mile away, Kathy Engelbert. We all see it. You out here trying to find Caitlin Clark. You out here finding the one person who's actually bringing money into this league. What a joke. You're mad that the Indiana Fever are here right now. Y'all didn't expect us to get this far.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's headline isn't about a buzzer beater, a record-breaking stat line, or even an MVP trophy. No, it's about a scandal so absurd it borders on comedy. Caitlin Clark, the player responsible for carrying the WNBA into mainstream relevance, has just been fined by her own league for typing 4 harmless words on Instagram. Refs couldn't stop us. That's it. That's the story. And yet somehow it's become the latest flashpoint in a growing battle between the league's most powerful star and the leadership trying to keep her in check. Think about this. Caitlin Clark, sidelined with a groin injury, wasn't even in uniform when this so-called incident occurred. She was on the bench, celebrating like any supportive teammate would, when she joined in on her team's joy by leaving a lighthearted comment online. No foul language, no personal attack, no rant, just 4 words that every Indiana Fever fan had probably shouted in their living room that night. The Fever had just pulled off a monumental playoff upset, the kind of storyline that could have and should have been used by the WNBA to showcase the grit and excitement of its players. Instead, what did the league do? It fined Clark $200. Not because the comment damaged the integrity of the game, not because it was inflammatory or dangerous, but because she dared to acknowledge the elephant in the room, that officiating has been a problem all season long. By penalizing Clark, the WNBA sent a chilling message to every player: even if you're the face of the league, even if your humor is loved by millions, you are not allowed to question authority, not even jokingly. And that's where this story takes a dark turn, because this isn't just about a fine, it's about control, it's about image, and it's about whether the WNBA truly values its players' voices, or whether it will continue silencing them no matter the cost. And here's where things get even more troubling. The $200 fine isn't about the money. For Caitlin Clark, who makes millions in endorsements with Nike, Gatorade, and every major sports brand you can name, that amount is pocket change, less than what she earns in a single minute of work. But the symbolism? That's what makes this story explode. This wasn't a financial penalty. It was a warning shot, a statement from league leadership that says, in no uncertain terms, speak out and you will pay. The WNBA's decision reveals a deeper, more dangerous pattern, an obsession with silencing its most influential players rather than listening to them. For years, fans and coaches have called out the officiating crisis that plagues the league: inconsistent whistles, game-changing missed calls, and referees who seem to lose control the moment tensions rise. Instead of addressing that glaring problem, the league focuses on optics, and Clark's joke became the perfect opportunity to flex its authority. Think about the double standard here. Physical plays that could cause injury often go unpunished, yet 4 words on Instagram bring down the hammer. It tells us this fine was never about maintaining professionalism or protecting officials. It was about controlling the narrative. Caitlin Clark has become too powerful, too outspoken, too beloved to be ignored, and that makes league executives nervous. By fining her, they tried to send a message not just to Clark, but to every player. Criticism of refereeing, even implied, will not be tolerated. But here's the twist. Instead of silencing Clark, the punishment amplified her voice. Her sarcastic reaction on Twitter, her teammates rallying around her, and fans mocking the league online only made the WNBA look weaker, pettier, and more out of touch than ever before. And in the end, that $200 fine may go down as one of the most counterproductive moves the league has ever made. If you thought the fine itself was bad, wait until you hear about the timing, because in sports, timing is everything. And the WNBA managed to choose the single worst possible moment to punish its biggest star. While Caitlin Clark was recovering from injury, her teammates were pulling off the kind of miracle playoff run that leagues dream about. The Indiana Fever upsetting the mighty Las Vegas Aces in Game 1 of the semifinals. That should have been headline news, a story plastered across every sports page. Instead, the league decided its priority was policing Instagram comments. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot. Let's lay this out. The Indiana Fever, a team that hadn't sniffed this level of postseason success in nearly a decade, stormed into Vegas and stunned the reigning champions with an 89-73 blowout victory. Kelsey Mitchell dropped 34 points, the bench was electric, and the underdog story was writing itself in real time. This was the kind of narrative that grows a sport. Young players proving themselves, a franchise clawing back into relevance, fans rallying behind a Cinderella story. And yet, rather than seize on the momentum, the WNBA drowned out its own good press by slapping a fine on Clark. Think about the optics. Instead of celebrating a team's resilience, grit, and unity, headlines turn to controversy, hypocrisy, and incompetence. The timing couldn't have been worse. Fans who might have been inspired to tune in for Game 2 were instead left debating why the league seems intent on punishing its brightest star during a moment of triumph. It's not just tone-deaf, it's sabotage. Because in sports media, perception matters, and the WNBA traded what could have been a glowing spotlight for another self-inflicted wound. It raises a brutal question. Does league leadership even want to grow the game? Or are they more interested in controlling the conversation? Here's where the hypocrisy becomes impossible to ignore. For an entire season, Caitlin Clark has been the target of brutal, borderline dirty fouls, hits that in any other league would have drawn technicals, flagrant calls, even suspensions. And how did the WNBA respond? By doing nothing, by turning a blind eye. Yet when Clark typed a harmless four-word joke online, suddenly the league found its backbone. No protection when she's on the floor getting hacked, but swift punishment when she's on Instagram. If that isn't hypocrisy, what is? Let's rewind. Throughout her rookie and sophomore seasons, Clark was consistently hammered by opposing defenders, hard screens that looked more like body checks, elbows to the ribs, players taking liberties knowing that whistles often stayed silent. Fans, analysts, and even rival coaches called out the imbalance. Clips went viral. Commentators asked why Clark wasn't being protected, and yet the league never acted. Instead, Clark absorbed the punishment, kept playing, and carried on with a toughness that only elevated her reputation. But the moment she had the audacity to poke fun at refereeing in a playful comment, the hammer dropped. Think about that message. Physical cheap shots? No problem. Sarcasm on social media? That's over the line. It tells us everything we need to know about the league's priorities. They are less concerned about player safety and more concerned about player silence. The hypocrisy is staggering, and it's not lost on fans. Social media lit up with outrage, with many pointing out the absurdity of ignoring physical fouls while overreacting to an Instagram comment. In trying to protect its image, the WNBA exposed itself instead, confirming the suspicion that the league isn't interested in fairness, it's interested in control. And that hypocrisy could cost them the trust of the very players and fans keeping the league alive. And here's the part the league absolutely didn't see coming. The fine backfired spectacularly. Instead of being embarrassed or silenced, Caitlin Clark and her teammates turned it into a joke. Clark laughed it off on Twitter, Sophie Cunningham cracked a GoFundMe gag, and fans piled on with memes. What was supposed to be a disciplinary action instantly became comedy gold, making the WNBA look small, petty, and out of touch with its own players. In short, the punishment became the punchline. Let's start with Clark herself. Instead of lashing out in frustration, she posted a screenshot of her comment with a simple reaction. Got fined $200 for this, LOL. That one line paired with laughing emojis did more damage to the league's credibility than any rant ever could. It showed confidence, humor, and perspective. Then Sophie Cunningham jumped in, joking about setting up a GoFundMe to help Clark pay the massive fine. Fans instantly ran with it, turning the situation into a viral moment that mocked the league's decision rather than validating it. Memes compared the fine to pocket change, others joked about Clark needing to pawn her sneakers, and some even suggested Kathy Engelbert personally collected the $200 in cash. What all of this did was flip the narrative. Instead of Clark looking like a troublemaker, she came across as witty and resilient. Instead of the WNBA looking authoritative, it looked ridiculous, an organization policing jokes while ignoring real problems. And in today's media landscape, perception is everything. The more the league tried to suppress Clark's voice, the louder and funnier her supporters became. The punishment, designed to silence, ended up amplifying her platform. And if there's one thing a professional sports league can't afford, it's becoming the butt of the joke. Now let's pull the lens back, because this story isn't just about one fine. It's about the elephant in the room the WNBA refuses to deal with. It's officiating crisis. Coaches complain, players complain, fans complain. Clips go viral, showing blown calls, inconsistent whistles, and referees losing control of games. Yet instead of fixing the problem, the league punishes anyone who dares to mention it. Caitlin Clark's fine wasn't just about Instagram, it was about burying the truth. For years, the officiating in the WNBA has been one of the league's most glaring weaknesses. Anyone who has watched a full game knows the story. Defenders allowed to grab and bump like it's football, shooters hammered without whistles, and referees who let games spiral into chaos until emotions boil over. We've seen bench-clearing scuffles, we've seen star players injured on plays that should have been flagged immediately, and we've even seen entire playoff series altered by questionable calls. And yet, when coaches like Becky Hammon or Stephanie White point out the problem, they're slapped with fines. When a player like Sophie Cunningham or Caitlin Clark makes a comment, even a lighthearted one, they're punished too. It's a system designed not to solve issues, but to silence criticism. Meanwhile, fans are left frustrated. They tune in expecting to see skill, strategy, and competition, but instead too often get officiating controversies that dominate the headlines. The irony: Clark's little Instagram comment, "Refs couldn't stop us," wasn't even harsh. It was playful, it was cheeky, and it was exactly what fans were already saying. By fining her, the league confirmed the suspicion that it would rather punish its stars than confront its officiating nightmare. And until that changes, officiating will remain a black eye on the WNBA's credibility. Here's where the double standard hits you in the face. On one side, the WNBA was busy rolling out the red carpet for A'ja Wilson, celebrating her historic 4th MVP award with glowing headlines and polished PR. On the other side, Caitlin Clark, the player driving record ratings, sold out arenas and merchandise like no one else, was fined for cracking a joke on Instagram. That's not balance. That's a rigged narrative, and fans see it for exactly what it is. Let's break this down. A'ja Wilson is a phenomenal player. No one disputes that. She's a generational talent, a two-way force who has built an extraordinary resume. The league has every reason to celebrate her achievements. But the problem is how selective that celebration appeared. While Wilson was showered with praise, Clark was being scolded and fined, a contrast that could not have been more poorly timed. The optics screamed favoritism. Clark, the league's most marketable star, the one whose presence has lifted TV ratings to record highs and packed arenas from Indiana to Los Angeles, was treated not as an asset, but as a threat. Instead of amplifying her personality and wit, the league tried to muzzle her. Instead of leaning into the momentum she creates, they dragged her name into a disciplinary report. Fans noticed the hypocrisy. They pointed out that the WNBA can celebrate Wilson endlessly while punishing Clark for something as trivial as a 4-word Instagram post. And whether intentional or not, the league sent a damaging message. Certain stars are celebrated, others are controlled. That kind of double standard not only divides fans, but risks alienating the very player who is doing the most to bring new eyeballs to the sport. In a league desperate for growth, that's a dangerous gamble. This fine could have been flipped into pure gold. Think about it. Caitlin Clark posts a cheeky comment, fans go wild, memes explode. This was a golden opportunity for the WNBA to lean in, laugh with the moment, and turn it into a marketing win. Instead, the league did the opposite. They slapped her with a fine, killed the vibe, and turned what could have been free PR into a public relations disaster. In other words, they fumbled the bag. Sports thrive on personality. Think about the NBA. Players like Steph Curry shimmy after hitting a three. Damian Lillard points to his wrist. LeBron James stares down cameras. Those moments become viral clips. They live on social media, and they grow the league far beyond the die-hard fanbase. The WNBA had its version of that with Clark's playful Instagram comment. It was the perfect chance to show the league's lighter side, to let fans see that its stars have personality and humor. Imagine the possibilities. The official WNBA account reposting Clark's story with a wink emoji. Indiana Fever merchandise dropping a "Refs couldn't stop us" shirt. Or even a sponsored campaign, turning the viral phrase into a rallying cry. That's how you grow a brand, by amplifying the moments fans already love. Instead, the WNBA reached for the rulebook. They fined her $200 and sent a message that personality is punished, not celebrated. The result: Clark's joke was no longer just a moment of levity. It became a symbol of the league's failure to embrace its stars. Worse, it alienated fans who saw the league as humorless, controlling, and out of touch. For an organization struggling to capture mainstream attention, squandering a chance like this wasn't just a mistake. It was malpractice. The fine didn't just silence a joke, it silenced momentum. If the WNBA thought this fine would make Caitlin Clark look weak or keep fans quiet, they miscalculated badly. Because the exact opposite happened. Fans rallied behind her like never before. From memes to hashtags to loud chants in arenas, Clark's supporters turned this controversy into fuel. And here's the kicker: this isn't just about loyalty to a player, It's about fans demanding transparency, fairness, and change in a league that too often brushes real issues under the rug. The wave of support that poured in for Clark was overwhelming. On social media, "Free Caitlyn and $200 fine" trended within hours. Thousands of fans reshared her Instagram story, adding captions like "petty fine, bigger problem." Others started mocking the league directly, saying, "Guess the WNBA needs Clark's $200 more than her ratings boost." And inside arenas, fans started chanting her name, even louder, turning games into statements of defiance. This wasn't just about Caitlyn anymore. It became symbolic of the tension between fans and league officials. Many feel the WNBA hasn't been transparent about officiating issues, hasn't protected its players from inconsistent enforcement, and hasn't fully respected the impact Clark has brought to the league. This fine crystallized all of that frustration into one moment. Fans weren't just standing up for Clark. They were standing up against a culture of silencing, favoritism, and control. And that's dangerous territory for any league. Because once fans start to believe the organization is working against the best interests of its own stars, they don't just get louder, they get bolder. They organize, they pressure sponsors, and they hold decision makers accountable. What started as a $200 penalty has now grown into a rallying cry, and it's one the WNBA can't afford to ignore without risking a major rupture in trust. And here's the harsh truth. This wasn't just a $200 fine. It was a warning shot that could backfire for years to come. Because what the WNBA did in this moment wasn't simply punish Caitlyn Clark. It undermined its own credibility, alienated its fastest-growing fan base, and risked sabotaging the very momentum it's been begging for. If the league doesn't learn from this scandal, the long-term consequences could be devastating. Let's look at the bigger picture. Caitlyn Clark is not just another rookie. She's the most transformative figure women's basketball has seen in decades. She's pulling in record-breaking ratings, drawing mainstream media coverage, and selling out arenas nationwide. She's doing more for the league's visibility than any marketing campaign ever could. And instead of celebrating that, the WNBA chose to fine her over a harmless joke. That decision sends a chilling message. Personality will be punished, criticism will be silenced, and the league's image comes before its players. The danger here is twofold. First, for Clark herself. If she feels stifled, controlled, or disrespected, the WNBA risks alienating its brightest star. And second, for fans, many of whom are brand new to the league thanks to Clark. These fans aren't loyal to the WNBA brand yet. They're loyal to her. If they feel she's being mistreated, they could just as easily walk away, taking those ratings and revenue with them. On top of that, the fine highlights everything casual viewers already suspect: that the league plays favorites, that officiating is broken, and that leadership is more concerned with optics than progress. If that perception hardens, the WNBA won't just lose a PR battle, it'll lose trust. And trust is the foundation of growth. In a critical moment where the league should be expanding, innovating, and amplifying its stars, it instead chose to silence one. That's not just a misstep. It's a self-inflicted unless the WNBA pivots quickly and shows it values transparency, fairness, and freedom of expression. This $200 fine could go down as the moment fans started questioning whether the league actually deserves the momentum Caitlyn Clark has given.